What's going on, man?
Ain't nothing. How you feeling?
Oh, not too bad. It's been a pretty good day so far. How about yourself?
Man, another beautiful day in paradise. Another beautiful day in paradise. A lot of work, man. A lot of work, but good stuff. All
Heck yeah.
right. So, firstly, man, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for making the time to have this conversation, my brother. I deeply appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. I got them here sanding the floors at the office right now. Are you able to hear the generator in the background?
Nope. Nope.
Okay.
We
Awesome.
good to go. We are good to go. All right. So, when I spoke with Jake, I got some new information. I did not know that you started that when you started working with him, you were an apprentice at the other company where that y'all were working together.
Um, no, I never worked for JRD as an apprentice. I had my
No,
journeyman
no, no,
license
no.
before I came over.
The other company. Like you worked with Jake.
Oh, when I first started working with him?
Right, 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 right,
Yeah. Yeah, I was
right.
an apprentice then. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. Like I didn't know. So it's like, man, it was like a little trip down memory lane.
Yep. Him and I have been working together on and off now for 10 years this year.
Man, so coming on to JRD, how was it to go from like being in learning mode to the idea of owning an actual business within the trades? Like how was that experience for you?
Um, it was definitely hard for sure because learning the trade is one thing, but learning business is a whole different ball game. And there's so much more that goes into it, and there's so many different little like caveats to it. You know, when you start to account for like accounting, marketing, management, all those types of things. Whereas with electrical, it's a little bit different between commercial and residential, but for the most part, it's still wires and breakers and outlets. And so it's definitely it was hard for sure. It still kind of is a little bit, but yeah, definitely a different kind of hard. And I kind of enjoy that side of things a little bit more than just the electrical side of things. I like the problem solving aspect of electrical,
Right,
and I think that definitely correlates over to the business side of things quite a bit.
right, right. So, because I know you are just like a student of the game, just in life in general, very deep thinker. So, in between, like when you first moved into the partnership role, what what were your like sources of research to kind of get some foundation under your feet on like truly making the transition into being a business owner? Because I like I said, I know you were doing your Googles and whatnot.
Failure, I'd say, was the biggest learning. Um, but no, I'd say a lot of podcasts. That tends to be probably the biggest thing I learned from is I listen to podcasts most all day long, especially when you're doing electrical work. It's kind of a lot of it's a little bit mindless once you figure it all out, and so you got to have something to keep your mind active. I've learned through being a dad and from hearing from my mom that's apparently how I've been my entire life. And when I don't have something that I can focus on and learn on and something that's new, that's when I tend to get in trouble. And my daughter definitely possesses those same qualities in her character, I'd say. She definitely she doesn't have something new to do. She'll find something, and it's usually picking on someone or getting into something she ain't supposed to be in.
Right, right. So, before we start talking about some of the tools like the warboard and whatnot, in order for the warboard to even be a thing, we had to work through some of the challenges that came with the previous accounting folks that you were working with. How has it been for you to watch Trinity really become an owner of the accounting at like she really, you know what I mean? I was telling Jake and I told her the same. You can't tell me that when she take her shirt off in the evening, it ain't an S on her chest. You know, like the way that she
Oh yeah.
navigates everything. But like how has it been to watch her like really own the the relationship between House Call Pro and QuickBooks, and having everything done so that the reports are ready for us to meet when we meet each week?
I mean, it's been crazy. Cause like, I mean, even going a step further back than that, when we brought her on, she was working at Top Golf before that and had actually taken a golf club to the back of the neck and was out on workman's comp for a while. And yeah, I guess, I don't know if she ever told you any about
No,
that,
no.
but yeah, and then they tried to get out of paying for her medical bills and stuff like that that she had. And she had super bad migraines and stuff. And so her struggle was she couldn't really walk around holding a heavy tray of drinks because it caused her migraines and stuff. And so we'd kind of just say, for the meantime, let's get you over here answering phones and stuff. It's kind of just an entry level position, but it's something that you don't have to be on your feet for. And you can help us out. We'll help you out. And we'll just see where it goes from there or whatever. And I kind of just thought it was going to be a stepping stone for her, kind of a middle ground place until she found something different. And she's really since then evolved it so much that she's been able to take on like the accounting and the house call pro thing. And so I think both as her employer and her older brother, it's been phenomenal to see her grow and blossom into the professional she's become. And it's been kind of mind blowing too, because having the same mom and dad, I don't know where the hell she comes from because I would have zero interest in doing any of that kind of stuff. So it works out great for me that she, does enjoy that stuff and she, can stay on top of it because I'm kind of the opposite. I like knowing the numbers. I despise entering numbers and really any computer work or like I like the relationship building side of things, and so being able to kind of have her hand that off to her and know that she's kind of got someone like you to reference when something abnormal kind of comes up, but also it's something that it is done in a timely manner, especially because the last bookkeeper didn't have like it wasn't even an option of you can pay me more for that. It was just a no chance. Like sorry, after yourself basically is kind of the feeling I got from the last bookkeeper. So I was kind of worried when that all happened of what to expect going forward and what that was going to do for JRD. And it's really, I mean, worked out for the better, I'd say.
Right, right. No, because like I said, I've watched just like you have, but for me, I watch it from a different lens because and I shared this with Trinity as well. What makes my job challenging a lot of the times is so just like in sports, the coach is responsible for making sure that the plays are orchestrated and that the right people are in the right places in the right positions with the right talents. And we kind of got the next man up thing that we've been talking about. But the coach doesn't actually play in the game. So I'm very conscious that when we have our meetings, when the meeting ends, you go back to running your business and all of the things that come along with that. So what makes this such a beautiful thing to be a part of is to because Trinity takes all of the conversations that we have and she makes sure that nothing falls through the cracks. And like that's a difficult thing to balance between, you know, planning for and actively putting things in place for the future while also dealing with the present. And
Yes.
she helps to facilitate that like mosaic, like in a mosaic way.
Oh, yeah. Until you talk to her, she's always under the impression like, oh, I don't have any time to do all the stuff I need to do. And you're thinking to yourself, like, shit, what do you think about me then? Because the amount of stuff you're knocking out, like, holy crap, like, what are you talking about?
Right, right. All right. So when we meet and because you mentioned the numbers piece, like how has the conversations that we have concerning the war board relative to when we're looking at the revenue performance from the top and then moving on down to the cost of goods sold and understanding what factors impact that margin from estimates and how effective that the estimates are to how well that the jobs are planned, et cetera. How has it been to go from like looking at the numbers initially to now understanding and like putting into action what you're seeing in the numbers? How has that process been for you?
definitely drinking from a fire hose at first. It was hard because I can only imagine for Jake because like he didn't listen to all the podcasts and stuff I did, so I kind of already had a little bit of an understanding of what cost of goods sold is, for example, or like even just gross revenue or gross profit and all those types of metrics. But as far as actually tracking them is where I was just like, man, I feel completely in the deep end here. I don't even understand where to start, yet alone how to stay on top of it. And like I said, too, I just really don't like the data entry stuff, too. So I was like, man, this is going to be kind of forcing me to do the crap I don't like to do, even though I know it's important. And so having the war board really helped it because then not only am I basing things off of actual data instead of just feelings, because I always had kind of like an intuition of, okay, well, sales are a little bit down this week. We haven't been doing as many estimates, or, I think these jobs are going over a little bit, but we're not actually sure. Are these jobs like we'd be sure? Oh yeah, we lost our butt on that job, but we wouldn't know. Okay, do we spend an extra hour there, or do we spend an extra day there? Or more or less, or on the ones that go good, the same thing. And then being able to kind of have an idea now, and we're tracking it to where I can even see like because the job costing is a huge factor into that as well, which same thing, we kind of knew that was important and we knew it was something we needed to be doing, but there's just so many things to do in a day. It kind of just got pushed under the rug and didn't really get completed much. And so now being able to see where those all tie together, how they all tie together, it feels a little more like we have a little more control. Before it was kind of like we were flying by the seat of our pants. We thought a lot of it had to do with luck and just we were really lucky people and we just happened to meet the people that we did to give us the work we had and stuff. And now it's more of it's put it into a different perspective of, yeah, luck does play a little bit of a role into it, but I play a larger role in it than the luck does. And a lot of my actions can have a larger outcome than just meeting some random person happening to get lucky on one job, and being able to same thing, kind of track that and measure it. And it's still a work in progress by all means. I don't have it figured out still, but it is compared to 6 months ago or a year ago. I mean, if you had told me what I know now, I was going to know back then, I'd be like, oh, well, they don't have it all figured out. And I would have been wrong, but definitely in a way better position now. And it, uh, it definitely helps with, like, I'm not a very anxious person as it is, but it would definitely get to me sometimes of like, I don't know what work we have coming in. I don't know what's going to be our next thing. And I kind of put all my eggs in this basket with JRD Electric. It was, if this doesn't work out, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. I don't know how I'm going to support my family. I married my wife and told her I'd let her be a stay-at-home mom and I'd take care of the bills. And that was all going well. And then becoming a business owner, it kind of, there's a lot more weight on my shoulders. And so I was really feeling that pain, and tracking those numbers significantly alleviated a lot of that. I mean, there's still times where it's like, crap, we're getting a little slow. What are we going to do? But it's not a what's going to happen. It's a what steps are we going to take forward because we know the direction we're headed, rather than just flying blindly. And so it's been a game changer. Doesn't even begin to cut it.
Man. So like there's a lot of alluding in that to how we've separated out the roles for you to be able to focus more on the estimate specifically as opposed to the operations, and for Trinity to kind of play her role as a intermediary for it all. How was it? How was a day in the life prior to having more clearly defined kind of roles and responsibilities?
The days were chaotic and a lot longer, and probably a little less productive. I'd say probably more busy than productive most days. Um, like I think one of the things I've learned the most, with just you in general and tracking numbers and everything like that, is kind of not necessarily my worth, but where I should be spending my time and what my time is worth. And so kind of keeping track of whose lane is what, it helps because I can kind of look at my day, and when something comes up, it's like, okay, this is important. Which of the four quadrants does it fall into as far as urgency and importance, and then kind of base it off that. And then if it's something that's kind of outside of my lane, I might be able to assist, point in directions of where things need to go, but not having to do it, knowing who would be responsible for that, and knowing that they've done similar things or similar things in that lane that are alike, knowing I'm handing it off to someone it's being put in good hands and I'm not having to deal with it at the same time is just phenomenal. Because I mean, the 4 day work week things, like I would have never thought that even be possible a year ago, and it's been awesome. I mean, the 4 days are still long days, but 3 day weekends every single week and having Fridays off when my daughter doesn't have school has just been awesome. And like we went did a snowboarding clinic with the girls and they went skiing every single Friday for 6 weeks in a row. And I didn't have to worry about what was going on with the business. And, I knew the business was still running. And I mean, it's not like I can fully step away and the business just operates as it should without me entirely, but we are leaps and bounds closer to that than we were prior. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that fully answers the question, but
Yes,
yeah, it's been
yes,
great.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. And you spoke to um, the value that you bring to the company based on your unique skill sets, because there is a cost to working below your pay grade, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
how do you process that now when you think about like what your pay grade is relative to the value that you bring to the company and how it actually hurts the company when when the balance isn't there? Like how do you see all of that now?
I think the numbers is probably the biggest thing for that because I already knew what I was getting paid from the company, or at least roughly. But seeing what cost that has on the company kind of put it into a little bit more perspective in comparison to everything else that the company pays for. And so it kind of changed my perspective a little bit to where when I'm doing something that's really I was going to say 15 an hour type position, which I guess is more than that now with minimum wage going up again. But it kind of switch my paradigm to where I'm almost I look at it more like I'm stealing from the company. If I'm taking this kind of money from the company, but then I'm doing these kinds of tasks, then I'm really doing a disservice to the company. And it's, not every single day is just getting to do the things that I need to do. Cause especially like with Renee being gone now, I have been answering the phones and stuff like that. So there still is the occasional thing I do, but even that, I mean, a lot of the automation we've been able to set up, I mean, like when the phone does ring, I'm able to take that phone call. Trinity already had the recordings and everything set up from the last person that was in the CSR position. And so now, as long as I get the appropriate information on that phone call, I don't even have to text Trinity of what needs to be added to the schedule or what was discussed about because she gets on, she listens to that recording and everything we just talked about automatically gets entered into the system and less things are falling through the cracks and it's kind of speeded things up too to where when I am having to take a phone call, which is something that is below my pay grade, I guess would be the term technically for it. I'm able to spend a lot less time doing that and then get back to what I should be doing quicker. Um, and so it's kind of just shifted the entire way I look at the whole thing. I mean, and it's really helped too because before I kind of looked at it as like, yeah, these estimates are important, but if I'm not in the field working, who's going to be getting this work done? And how do I know the work's getting done the same way as if I was there? And so kind of everything comes together. And I mean, the training with the guys and measuring where they have weaknesses and where they have strengths and being able to schedule jobs accordingly to either train them up on those weak spots or to utilize their strengths has really helped because then I'm able to actually focus on, estimates and sales and networking and building those relationships that keep the work coming in for when they finish up the work that they're working on right now. It's a whole different world.
Absolutely. So speaking of which, how have your guys responded to the self-assessments via the skills flex?
Um, it's been a work in progress for sure because I think we had so much disorganization for such a long time that it kind of, I think, a little bit slapped him upside the head of like you want me to do, you're going to hold me accountable? Like, huh? You want me to, what do you mean we got to measure this? Like, I just show up and do my work. Like, what do you mean? So I think it was a bit of a learning curve for sure. And I think the biggest thing was the vision and the presentation of it all. And I think those conversations with you have definitely helped too, because before it'd be just, okay, well, I need you to fill this out. But instead, we've been able to flip that and here's the why first, that these issues that we've been dealing with, like, do you guys enjoy going to work and dealing with the same issue over and over? Well, no one does. And the only way to fix that is to identify those issues first and then build a plan for how we can avoid making those same problems happen and exist in our future. And so I think starting with that why has really brought them around to it to where they kind of understand. And I think we've switched it up recently a little more so of starting the conversation with them of because same thing with the processes. It was the exact same thing of like I already know how to do this job. Why are you giving me a process for how to do it? And when we flip it and give them that why of, well, no, like we're setting it up this way because if you do it XYZ and it takes you longer or it's harder or anything different than ABC and ABC was how it's priced, not only does that affect the company, but that affects your day. You know, like you don't want to come to work and work harder than you have to for the same outcome, right? And so kind of flipping that paradigm for them as well. And I think mostly I've grown a lot as a leader lately. And so kind of understanding how to speak to them in a way that it kind of aligns with their professional and personal goals as well, and kind of being able to understand what their professional and personal goals are to be able to align it kind of builds them up and gives them room for growth, but then also it really helps me because it gives me faith in the team I'm sending out to the customers and that I'm not, selling that we're the best company in the world and then the opposite shows up after I'm gone. And so it's been yeah, that's been a game changer too, I'd say.
Yeah. And that's actually a challenge that a lot of folks face because obviously the owners of the company are going to have a different charisma and competence and all of the things. But then when the team show up and it's like, whoa, 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 like that's not what I was. It don't match. So when the
Mm-hmm.
culture isn't established in the company across the board, then you have those inconsistencies. So that's why the skills flex is designed that way so that you're able to establish truly a baseline standard for everyone. And it's like either you good with where you are or you want to do better for yourself. And if you are good where you are, that's a different conversation for us to have.
Definitely.
All right. So the hiring piece, man. So talking through setting performance standards of, what does that first 90 days look like? And then breaking that down into, if we're not seeing this in 60 days and 30 days, and as a matter of fact, when we come on, we having a conversation about your performance expectations and 7 days into the job, we're moving back to, kind of speak about how you've performed from when you started and keeping that momentum going in order to truly develop the team. That is a formula or a strategy that we've discussed. Can you speak to how it's how it's been for you to experience implementing that and being able to kind of learn really quickly if you had the right candidates or not, as opposed to it being drawn out? Because that oftentimes happens where the wrong hire happens and they end up staying on board way longer than they ever should have.
Yeah, that one's been a huge one for us for sure. Prior to any of that, I mean, our hiring process was kind of just the mindset of we need an electrician and that's kind of the qualifications. And then beyond that, we got to spend a lot of time with you. So hopefully we enjoy your presence. And if you check those two boxes, I mean, when can you start? And that's kind of how we were doing it prior. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we found a couple decent people that way, but it was really just happened to get lucky. And so kind of weeding a lot of those people out has really streamlined that to where when we do hire someone, we have more faith in them. We have more faith in ourselves that we did pick the right candidate and that they're the right candidate. But then also they're going into it knowing exactly what's expected of them because same thing prior, it's kind of we had an expectation in our head that was never explained to them. And then when they don't meet that expectation, it's like, well, dude, what the hell? What are you doing? And they're like, well, I thought I'd been doing good. And it's like, this is good. Like, what do you mean? And then it kind of dawned on me that really, like, none of that is their fault. And I can't hold them accountable for any of that because it's entirely on us to be setting those expectations and holding them accountable to those expectations. And that part for sure is definitely still a work in progress. I wouldn't say we have hiring completely figured out, but we have also come leaps and bounds in that sense from where we started to now. And I think, give it another year and I'll probably still be blown away again of where we're at then. And hopefully through that, we will have, continued to grow and not even hopefully we will continue to grow. And we know that we have the right steps in play. I mean, same thing back to the sales thing, we're reading the numbers and knowing what to expect ahead of time. It kind of takes that guesswork out of it. And it's not like everything's 100% predictable still, but it is so much closer now than it ever was. And as it continues to evolve, I imagine it'll never be a flawless system, but it really just cuts down on our chances of having someone come on board that does not represent what we are about and having them burn. I mean, trust is so easy to build and it's so easy to break. And
Right.
it's horrible when it's one of your guys that broke that trust and not you, but it's even worse when you come to the realization that really it might not have been by your hand, but it was definitely your fault and you were the one that was in control and responsible for that, even if it wasn't you that made whatever mistake it was that might have broken that trust. And so being able to bring people on and have an idea too of where they rate themselves before they even come on, but then also what we expect of them moving forward rather than just having it kind of in my head and then Jake has his own kind of idea in his head and then Trinity's, got her own idea, being able to all align on that and be a united front for each and every new individual employee, which don't get me wrong, it's been hell trying to get all of it figured out and trying to break down for each job role. It's like, well, in my head, I know what I think that should be, but putting words to that is such a different task. And it's been a challenge for sure, but I mean, it's all worth it. It's just more of it's a different skill set that I didn't ever have before. And so it's kind of shifted again, the way I think about things and having to think about things in that way ahead of time rather than just we need to hire someone. We think, okay, well, if we're bringing this person on or if we're going to bring someone on for this position, what does that look like for a go-getter? For the perfect candidate, what would that look like? And being able to put words to that and have that and then find the candidate for that and being able to bring the person into the position rather than bringing the person into the company and then trying to find where they fit into everything has really made it a lot easier for the new hires, but especially us. I mean, because back to the not working on things that are, like below your pay grade and stealing from the company, you can't avoid that if you aren't giving them expectations and setting that bar for where they need to be doing or what they need to be doing and how they need to be doing it and when they need to be doing it. Then it really just, yeah, I mean, sky's the limit now, it seems like.
Right, right. Man, speaking of the sky being the limit, when I think about some of the conversations that we had prior to Nick's promotion, because he's always been, a solid dude, you know what I'm saying? Just a character, performance, just all around. But it wasn't certain, if he was going to stick around or if he needed to move and make another going from that space to crafting a role for him, presenting that role to him, and then you watching him evolve and that process, like obviously continuing on as he's returning from his maternity leave. How has that experience been to watch someone go from doing a lot of those things already to actually owning them and the outcomes?
I mean, it's been phenomenal. Same thing with Nick. Like him and I have a pretty long history too. Like I actually grew up with Nick, and I've known him since like the eighth grade. And he just happened to also be an electrician and happened to reach out at the right time to ask if we were hiring. And it was like, well, yeah, we need help. Like I mean, just getting crap done. You know what I mean? Like we didn't really have uh, a goal or a plan or anything set in place for him. It was just, yeah, come in here and this is what we need done, get it knocked out, and that was about it, you know. And so I think it really put it into perspective when he was wanting to leave because he wanted to move to Kentucky because the cost of living's lower down there. His brother was offering him a pretty sweet job as an electrician down there, making pretty good money, but being able to design a position that gives him kind of a stepping stone for growth. I mean, the fact that he was willing to turn down what he was offered in Kentucky to stick around for that kind of just really opened my eyes that it's like, this is, we're definitely headed in the right direction because I was worried about losing him because he was such a great asset. But also at the same time, I wouldn't have blamed him because at that point in time, I mean, we didn't have the right stuff in place and we didn't really have a plan for where he was headed. And it was kind of, at that point, from his perspective, kind of a dead end job. You know, he just kind of, what am I going to do? Just keep showing up and installing electrical work for the rest of my life? Like, there's nothing's ever going to change. There's no other pathways for me or anything. And so, kind of having an opportunity to keep him around and being able to also utilize his strengths and being able to kind of build that pathway for his growth and then putting those stepping stones in place so that way we didn't just have the goal, we also had the plan to get there. um, has been just, I mean, again, just weight off my shoulders, and then even better, more work off my plate and more work on his. And you know, we're able to pay him better now because he's bringing more value to the company, and he also has, you know, upward mobility from there. It's not like he's capped out again. It's, you know, we still have future plans and back to the next man up thing. I mean, we're got plans for where he's going and got plans for who will be taking his place when he does move on to that next spot. Yeah, it's just been phenomenal to be able to see our business turn into something that at the start of it was just like, a man, this is, you know, my ticket out of being, I grew up a super poor kid and, you know, just didn't really have money. And so I've been very money focused most of my adult life. And that's kind of what's led me into electrical and doing just a job that wasn't, you know, delivering pizzas is kind of
Right.
how I got into electrical. And so now being able to see though that JRD has provided a different lifestyle and quality of life for myself and my family is one thing, but being able to see that for one of my close friends and one of my employees is a completely different feeling. And I kind of compare it to being a dad. I mean, I seeing things for your kids happen is just, it's a different feeling. And so it's very similar for employees that when you have it set up for them and you see that sparkle in their eye that you value them and you want to, you know, promote them and grow with them and have them grow with the company. It's extremely rewarding on top of, I mean, we wouldn't be able to do what we do without him. And I've significantly learned that with him being on this paternity leave. I mean, don't get me wrong, everyone's got to be replaceable to an extent, but being able to have that set up in a way that we were able to function without him being here, and when he comes back, we'll be able to hit the ground running again. And just knowing that if we can handle this, like, what else you got to throw at us? Like, we got this, you know, like, it's, even if it's a new challenge, we're going to figure it out. And it's a breath of fresh air.
Right, right. Man, so with all things considered, if you could rewind back to day one when you were officially a part owner of JRD, what would you tell yourself then from the things that you've learned up until this point?
I think the biggest thing is when we first started, the company was so small and we were doing such little work that the cost of things really shied us away from taking the right steps forward. Um, like there was a lot of things that we knew we should be doing, but it was like, how are we supposed to spend money on that? Like, how are we supposed to do that? And it goes back to not tracking the numbers at that point in time. And so I'd say the biggest thing is just don't wait. Probably would be the advice I'd give myself, because not, can you not afford it now is one thing, but like, you can't, like, future, you can't afford to not do it, you know. And so there's been a lot of things. I mean, like having you, the business coach, is one thing that we kind of were interested in. Like, we need someone to teach us more about business, but not only how are we going to afford to do that, but also when are we going to find the time to do that, you know? And how are we, I'm supposed to go home and take more time away from my family to do that? And So it's kind of just one of those things where it's an exponential growth kind of thing. Like the money we've been putting into our growth personally and professionally, and the company's expansion has been just exponential, and the return on it has been wild. I mean, not only for JRD Electric, but it's also nice because it's kind of sparked an interest in me, because I've always known electrical for me is kind of just it was a job. I kind of fell into it. There was parts and pieces I liked of it, but also like I watched my grandpa work his entire life in construction, and how beaten down and broken his body is from wearing tools constantly and doing that type of stuff constantly is just not something I really wanted and saw for myself. And so now having more professional development has really helped me kind of open my eyes that one day I will have an exit plan from this company, whether that's 5 years from now or 20 years from now. Not only is that my choice, but also it's opened a lot of doors for what I could do next. And it's kind of sparked a big interest for me in business specifically, and like business growth. And it's just something it's really a light bulb for me, because up until now, like I said, I've been so money focused of what job can I go take to make $2 an hour more. Okay, well, now I'm going to go in the oil field because I can make way more money and I can be off, but then I'm gone for 2 weeks at a time and I'm missing my kid's life. And so now it's kind of shifted a little bit of, instead of being money focused, it's like it's something I'm passionate about. I enjoy it, and it's something I lose track of time when I'm talking to someone else about business development or those types of things. Like I have such a passion for it that it's not a matter of, well, am I getting paid for this? It's more something I really enjoy talking about, something I really enjoy helping people with. And so it's kind of really aligned for me that I don't have to be an electrician the rest of my life. I have other pathways as well, but at the same time, in electrical, I can still see those same pathways if that's the route I choose to go. And that's the biggest thing for me, is just kind of the flexibility that I'm not locked down. I mean, if you would have talked to me 4 or 5 years ago, electrical is all I know. That's all I can do. I don't have another choice. I got kids and I got to feed them and pay the bills and keep the lights on, and this is what I'm going to have to do that. And I'd be happy to do that for my kids, but knowing there's other opportunities out there in this world that I align with outside of just twisting wire nuts and landing breakers is quite an awesome feeling. And also knowing that if I choose to, I can use all those strengths and continue to grow JRD Electric to whatever we want it to be. And that's the biggest thing, is it's freedom. Being able to have control over your own future is what it really feels like, compared to kind of showing up and doing what you got to do to get paid. And so it's been unbelievable.
Man, so I told Jake, bro, I'm gonna keep on pushing y'all in the home services, man. I'm gonna keep on pushing because once we got all these processes standardized for what we expect for operations to do, operations is operations in electrical and plumbing and HVAC and roofing and siding. It's all the same stuff. It
Oh
really is.
yeah.
It's not much of a distinction. So once the framework is there, then you're just plugging and playing talent. So as opposed to having some of the challenges that come along with working with these GCs that don't have their stuff together, you got your own internal, war machine behind you, right?
Oh yeah, we definitely cuss you sometimes because we aren't quite there yet, and it's kind of like it's crazy to even think like that could be an opportunity one day down the road. But each time now that we do encounter, like, oh shit, man, this plumber was supposed to be here today, he's not. This is our subcontractor for this project, and now he's making us look bad or holding us up or anything. Jake and I both in the back of our head are like, oh, Jesse's right, like son of a bitch, like. And so it's kind of, as time goes on, it just happens more and more of like, oh crap, like, yep, this is exactly what Jesse was talking about, ain't it? Like, dang it, he's always right.
My brother, I deeply appreciate you making the time, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, my brother. Well, you getting ready to go on vacation, right?
Yeah, yeah. Today's my birthday. Last year in
Happy
my
birthday.
20s.
Happy
Yeah,
birthday.
thank
Happy
you.
birthday, man.
So we gotta go home, Gotta go. Well, I gotta drop my truck off at the shop here in a few. It's got some work it needs done, and then gotta go drop the dog off at the dog boarding facility. Gotta get the kids' bags all packed up for going to grandma's, and get our stuff packed up, and we'll be hitting the road tomorrow morning real early. We got 3 days of snowboarding ahead of us. Looks like a storm's about to be rolling in, so it's gonna be a good weekend, that's for sure.
Hell
And
yeah, my brother.
would have never been possible a year ago to take this kind of time off of work for my birthday. You know, I've always just worked on my birthday, and so yeah, it's a nice change of pace for sure.
Good shit, brother. Good shit. All right, my brother. Will you be safe on the road and because on the mountains, like have fun, but be safe, man.
Oh yeah,
All right, my
got to.
brother. For
Oh
sure.
yeah, I appreciate you, Jesse. See you
I
later.
appreciate you. All right.